A very good evening to all of you. My name is Prashant, and I warmly welcome you all to this online information session being organized by the Masters Union School of Business. Masters Union, as you may have read or heard across the various platforms that are talking about us, is a unique CXO-led business school with CEOs and MDs of the likes of L&T, Morgan Stanley, Boston Consulting Group, Adani, Tata, and many others on faculty. This session is meant to talk about the many what's, how's, why's associated with this very ambitious project, but also to walk you through the admission process. We are here to help you understand what does it take to get into Masters Union. And we are here to also help you understand the route you could take, the hoops that you could run through on your way to a winning application. Joining me here is Pratham Mittal, who is the project director of Masters Union. And I'm going to quickly introduce you to him. Pratham did his undergrad from the Wharton School, and he's also an alumnus of the Doon School. Previously, he founded Outgrow, which is a software platform used by the likes of New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and many others, and for the entire web management. In fact, this company was recently ranked as the top B2B software company in the greater New York area. Recently, after moving back to India, Pratham founded Neta, a political ratings app with over 28 million users. Over to you, Pratham.
Thanks, Prashant. I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. And we'll try to answer as many questions that you have, as well as run you through the admissions process, and also talk about what is Masters Unions at the end of the day. This is our first year, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions. So I'll just take maybe the first 5 to 10 minutes to talk about Masters Union, the genesis of it, who started it, why it was started, and what is it all about. In the second part, I'll run you through the admissions process and answer any questions that you might have about Masters Union as well as the admissions process. So let's dive right into it. I'm sure it's a Saturday evening. You guys have other plans as well. So we'll dive right into it. Just to give you an introduction, an overarching view, Masters Union is essentially a technology-focused business school, right? Technology-focused being two very important words. We'll get to that. And the second point is that it's entirely run by CXOs, MDs, presidents, veteran leaders, etc. Not only did they found this institution, but they're also going to be teaching in the classroom. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in detail further. And this institute is meant to offer an industry immersive postgraduate program. Industry immersive being the two key words here. And we'll talk about this in detail further as well. And the certificate that you will be awarded at the end of the program is called the PGP-TBM, which is Postgraduate Program in Technology and Business Management. Right? It's going to be a 16-month program. It starts in August of this year. It's a full-time program located in Gurgaon, in the middle of Cyber Hub is where the institute is located. First things first. This institute was founded by a group of very eminent personalities, a few of whose names you can see on the screen. Not only did they found this, they'll also be teaching in the classroom every day. I mean, as you can see, some of the names being Arun Mehra. He's one of the former chairman of Boston Consulting Group, which is the main top brand in consulting in the country, across the world, in fact, as well. We have Dr. Narendra Yadav, who's a member of parliament and a former chief economist of the RBI. He'll also be teaching in the classroom. In fact, he'll be teaching about the economy, the Indian economy. Someone else who came together as well with us is Dr. Manoj Kohli. Mr. Manoj Kohli. He's the former CEO and MD of Airtel, one of the largest, most successful companies in the country. He led the company for 15 years, and he'll be teaching about how he built a $15 billion brand in Airtel. We have, Mr. Sandeep Singhal. The entrepreneurs amongst you would have heard of him for sure. He founded Nexus Partners, which is one of the foremost venture capital firms in the country. Satish Krishnan, again, one of the topmost bankers in the country, ran Standard Chartered for the longest time, right? Mr. Mukund Rajan, some of you might have heard, he was one of the MDs of Tata Teleservices when Tata was going up, and he himself is a Rhodes Scholar as well. So these are the kinds of people who have come together. I'm just going to show you a few more names. They range from former chief secretaries to Rajya Sabha members to MDs of top investment banks. one name I want to mention here specifically is Mr. Naveen Munjal. He is the MD and also the founder of Hero Electric, one of the pioneers of electric vehicles in the country. And his class will be on how electric vehicles will change the entire supply chain of the automotive industry, which powers almost 50% of the manufacturing sector of India. Right? Teaching retail would be Mr. Ajit Joshi, who was the CEO of Tata Chroma, those electronic stores where you've probably bought your power banks from. We have a very interesting person who was the former CMO of Samsung, no less, teaching how to build a successful brand. And Samsung, as we all know, is one of the most successful brands. I don't have to tell you guys that. Right? So people like this have come together not only to found this institution, but to also teach at this institution. And here, I'll just like to stop for a second and tell you as to why this is so relevant, right? In a medical college, it's the doctors who are practicing themselves. They are the ones who teach on a day-to-day basis. However, in business schools or in any other school for that matter, in engineering, etc., it's always the professors who themselves have never stepped into the industry who are teaching. And so how do we expect them to make you industry relevant if they themselves have never been in the industry? And that's where the entire philosophy of CXO-led education comes from, where we want not academicians teaching, but practitioners teaching, right? And of course, when they are teaching, they'll be teaching in a much more different, unique, interesting, fun, experiential way. And we'll get into that in a bit. However, that said, there are some courses that still require a specific kind of skill, which only professors can give, right? So we have brought on board, professors from either HPS or Wharton. No other institution have we touched. The top two business institutions, those professors will be coming down and teaching the classes, right? So we have Dr. Karthik Ramanna, who's a professor at HPS, Saikat Chaudhary, professor at Wharton. In fact, my former professor as well. Professor Mihir Mankar, again, faculty at HPS. Dr. Bhaskar Chaturvedi, who was a professor at HPS, but now, the dean of global business at the Fletcher School of Business, again, a top-ranked business school. Of course, one of my other former professors from Wharton will be teaching negotiations as well. He's a great professor. You'll have a great time, I'm sure, with him in the classroom. So this is the kind of faculty that I'll be teaching in this campus, right? And this is completely top-notch. And that's how we intend to keep it forever. Now, as I said, the education here is extremely relevant to the industry. We are grounded in the industry. And the kind of concentrations that you can learn at the Masters Union School of Business are very relevant to today, right? So instead of, studying, financial accounting, you'll actually be learning about fintech as a core concentration. Everyone has to do fintech as a core concentration, right? You'll be learning about computing, business analytics, and statistics rather than statistics alone, right? So you'll be talking about the latest technologies and all of the latest practices in the country or in the world, in fact. So we have four core concentrations that everybody has to do, as you can see on your screen. That's management, marketing, finance, and computing. Of course, there are more, they expand into management and strategy, marketing, branding, and design, finance and fintech, computing, BA, and statistics, right? So they are banking, private equity, and venture capital, one of the most popular concentrations. Digital and e-commerce, the second most popular concentration. Then, of course, technology, product, and product management. That's the most relevant, to most industries today. Family business. This is very interesting, very close to my heart, where we have family business promoters coming in and teaching about how to run family businesses, right? And I'm sure many in the audience have family businesses of their own. And then, of course, advanced data analytics. This is for the mathematicians in the audience. So as you can see, the concentrations are highly unique, highly tailored to today's world. Now, the classroom at the Masters Union is not going to be like the classroom you probably had in your undergrad or even in your high school, right? Every course is designed to feel like an internship, right? Let me just, wait a second and let that sink in. Every course is designed to feel like an internship in one of three ways, right? So one is it's a consulting project-based course, right? You'll have a real client because we have people who are from these companies. We'll have a real client, in Reliance and Interbrand and LIC, Facebook. The people from these companies will be coming into the classroom and giving us consulting projects that we work on throughout the term, right? And you can see other names on the screen as well. But this is something that you have to do with your hands, right? There's very little lecturing that happens in the classroom. It's a problem statement that you have to work on as a group with your teacher. The second is a corporate field course. This is also very interesting. So what happens in a corporate field course is that you're actually transported, you're actually taken off-site to the company's office or to the company's factory. And there you're taught about the entire working of the company, right? So in fact, when I was preparing for this program, and when I was working with the founders to make sure that we can run this smoothly, we actually went to the Adani, the Mudra port in Gujarat, which is a huge port, right? It's one of the country's largest ports. And I went there, and my eyes were completely, completely. I was so surprised that something so large could exist. And there was a full 20-hour session over 3 or 4 days that we attended, where we got to know about the entire supply chain of how Adani as a company works, right? So the second type of course will be a corporate field course. And last, and perhaps the most important, is the technology bootcamp courses, right? So these are courses that are actually about technology rather than management, right? I mean, today in the industry, if you know management but do not know technology, I'm sorry, but you do not have a job, right? It's just the reality of the times, right? So, you will be getting real technology inputs, right? In fintech, in blockchain, in e-commerce, in AI, in SaaS, in infrastructure, right? Only when you understand these aspects of technology can you be expected to lead a business in the future. I can bet my life that in the future, we'll have more CTOs becoming CEOs rather than CFOs becoming CEOs, right? So that's how the curriculum is so vastly different from any other class that you might have ever attended. These two are very interesting industry interventions that the masters have brought in, right? This is, by the way, all these ideas are coming from the masters themselves, right? They are from the industry, they know what the industry wants, and they're able to tailor the program as per their own requirements, right? So to give you an example, one of our teachers is from Morgan Stanley, right? He used to lead Morgan Stanley for the longest time. So he gave us this idea that we should have an investment fund that students themselves run. And he went ahead and he actually collected some money from all the other masters, and we have created a fund worth 5 crores, which you as students will actually invest in different kinds of markets, right? In real estate, in stocks, in mutual funds, etc. Right? Thereby, you will get hands-on experience on how to run a fund, and you'll be responsible to make sure the fund is profitable, right? Of course. So I think when you go for that job interview, right, into an investment fund or into an investment bank or into a private equity company, you can tell them, hey, listen, I've been running a fund my entire MBA or my entire PGP, right? And that's a great thing on the CV. The second very interesting intervention is the one-on-one CXO mentorship program. So let me tell you a little bit about this. This is very cool. So we have approximately 120 masters who have joined from the industry, right? Each of the students, part of our inaugural class, and in fact, all the classes moving forward, will be partnered with one CXO for the entire duration of the 16 months. So you'll have sort of a parent, an industry parent, if you will, who will be with you, attached with you throughout the 16-month program. And his job is to make sure that your career graph looks good. That's it. That's his entire. So imagine the chairman of BCG or the president of Adani or the MD of Reliance. These will be the people who will be mentoring you on a day-to-day basis, right? What you will ask me, what's in it for them? These are people who are retired, who have a lot of time on their hands and who want to pay back to the students, pay back to the society. And they're more than happy to welcome you into their homes as well, to make sure that your career graph looks good. They want to mentor, right? That's their calling at this part of their life. Two very other interesting things that the masters have thought of. One is the Center for New Business Models. So this is a dedicated research center, right? It's an actual research center. In fact, there are 5 research centers where you will be working with industry experts to churn out new business models, right? So for example, we all know about blockchain, but we don't really understand how to use blockchain in a business or how to use blockchain to create a new business, right? So this research center, what it will do is work with the industry experts, bring students and of course faculty in to create new business models in blockchain. And the same applies to Center for Applied Machine Learning, Lab for Genetics, Agriculture Innovation Center, and of course the High Radius FinTech Research Center. High Radius, as you know, is one of the top fintech companies in the world. They have partnered with us to create this fintech course, fintech research center. And the fourth industry intervention, which I think you all know about already, you probably had it in your undergrad schools as well, is the Master's Startup School, right? Here we'll have entrepreneurs in residence, again, top entrepreneurs of the country coming in and helping you throughout the entire process of starting a company, fundraising for the company, building the product for the company, etc. Right? So again, that's how these four unique industry interventions have been structured. Just to quickly go through them again. First is the Masters Union Investment Fund. Second is the one-on-one CXO mentorship program. Third is the Center for New Business Models, and fourth is of course the Startup School. And this is my favorite part, which is this campus is located in the middle of Gurgaon, in the middle of Cyber City. There's in fact a new building that's coming up, that's already come up right in front of Cyber City called Cyber Park. And we share that building. And so we are on the ground floor of that entire building. And we share that building with companies like, EY, Gartner, BCG, Bank of America. There's so many companies in that building. And, a lot of instructors will just have to take the elevator down to the Masters Union floor for the classes. And a lot of you students will actually just be taking the elevator up for your internships, for your, consulting projects, etc. So this one entire contained environment will give you this feel, in medical education, the hospital, a medical college is always situated inside a medical hospital, right? The people who are teaching are actual doctors, not just academicians, right? And you're working with real patients, right? So that is what we are trying to create with Masters Union as well, where you have real practitioners teaching you real life business skills in the real business center, rather than like 500 kilometers away in some deep village or something, right? So that's the idea. This chart just gives you a sense of how the program is structured. So there are 8 terms over the 16 months. There's of course a 3-month internship, so we can take that out. So that leaves you with 13 months, effectively 12 months, because 1 month holidays here and there, everyone want to party. So the 12 months are divided into 8 terms of 6 weeks each, right? And in each of those terms, you'll be taking certain number of classes, right? And the schedule is completely flexible. We have a very nice online system where you can select which classes you want to take, when you want to take them. You can take a class in the term 1, or you can take the class in term 6. That's completely up to you, right? And in that same term, you might have a business trip to, let's say, Mundra Port, or you might have a tech bootcamp in that same term. But throughout the year, the Masters Startup School and the Center for New Business Models will be available to you. The same is true for the fund as well, which will be running on a day-to-day basis. Right? The next chart gives you this sense of what your week would look like. Right? Of course, you'll be very busy. I'll tell you, you'll be very, very busy. This is not an easy program by any means, right? You'll be extremely busy. So in the morning till early evening, you'll have your classes, your core classes, your advanced classes. Some classes are 1 hour long, some classes are 3 hours long. That depends on how the practitioner wants to teach. But in the evenings, you'll have your consulting engagements, you'll have your one-on-one CXO shadow hours, you'll have your startup school hours, you'll have your leadership lectures from top businessmen, you'll have your networking dinners, which is really important. So every twice a week, you'll have networking dinner where all these industry folks will come together and you can just interact with them. Over the weekend also, we'll be keeping you busy. Not every weekend, but every few weekends, where you'll have a day-long bootcamp course. Or maybe you have to travel to a certain destination for your field course, right? So it's a busy, exhaustive program for sure. I'm coming towards the end of the first part of our presentation, and one very interesting thing the masters wanted was that this institution should be for life, right? It should be for life. So what that means that even after you graduate, you can still come back any day of the week, any time of the year into the institution and take up 1 course per year, right? So even when you're 45, even when you're 65, and the learning never stops, you are more than welcome to come back to the school, right, and take a fresh course with young people at that time, right? And of course, you're more than welcome to come back for those networking dinners. So this is sort of like your club that you can come back to. That is extremely important to the masters. They don't want it to be just a 1 year long thing. You're alumni for life. And then, of course, you have master's access. Even if the master is not teaching you, a specific master you want to talk to, and he's not teaching you, you can go to him or them over one-on-one office hours. Of course, alumni group will be extremely resourceful. There's a lot of work that we do towards enabling your careers, right? So already we know that we have over 127 companies that will be coming in year one to recruit you guys, right? And our batch is only 120. So it's like more companies than there are students. And I think one very important thing, which the masters felt was important, is that they want to give psychological counseling as well. A lot of just so that, when we go into the industry, we don't carry any baggage. And I think that is also extremely important. And I'm more than happy to take questions about this as well. So, that was about the college as a whole, right? And I'll come to the questions about it. But before that, I just want to run through the admissions process once very quickly, just take 2 minutes. And I'm sure you have a lot of questions about this. So first of all, let's talk about eligibility, right? So, when we started, the masters really wanted there to be a standardized test. But they do realize that, it's very hard in these tough times, due to the crisis of COVID, that some students might not have the standardized tests done. So for the first year, they've actually waived off any requirement for standardized tests, right? So you do not need a Gmat, GRE, CAT, or even an NMAT to apply, right? What you do need is a 3 to 4 years bachelor's degree or an undergraduate degree in any discipline from a recognized institution. Now, just a point here, we had a few applicants over the last few weeks who have not completed their bachelor's because they dropped out to start a company, right? So, they spoke to the masters, and the master said, hey, these people are very accomplished. They're running successful companies. So even they should be allowed. So on a case-to-case basis, we might consider someone who's dropped out due to entrepreneurial pursuits. We prefer experience, point 3. We do prefer work experience. But even if you don't have work experience, we look for other strengths in your application, right? Usually the ideal scenario is 2, 3, 4 years of work experience, but not everyone will have that, we understand, and discriminate too much. Then, of course, the English language requirement. I think most of the people who apply usually have their undergraduate studies in English. But in case you don't, then you have to take the TOEFL, IELTS, or the PTE. So that's about eligibility, right? Just to give you a holistic sense, we expect that the people who will finally be admitted will probably have a Gmat score, a high Gmat score, right? I would not say a specific number, but they'll have a high Gmat score. And of course, a high CAT percentile as well, right? Even if they haven't taken it, that's all right. But if you have taken it, then we expect a high Gmat score, of course. Now, I'll just take you through the admissions process. You first submit your application in step 1. Sorry, I just saw a question. Someone asked that they have 5.5 years of experience and if they're eligible. Yes. So anything above, any work experience eligible. We even have people who have 20 years of work experience and have been in the army, right? And they have been captains and brigadiers, and even they want to come back and study. So even they are eligible. So everyone is eligible for sure. And of course, we like that. We like when the classroom is diverse and people bring in different experiences. That's actually helpful for everybody. Now, the admissions process, step 1 is, of course, you have to submit the application online. And the online application requires you to submit an essay. And it's a very interesting essay. You're actually asked to think about, name one company that you would invest in, right? And you have to talk about why you would invest in that company, right? So I think that's a great question. And a lot of people have a lot of fun answering that question. Of course, we'll require a recommendation letter and your CV. The round 1 application deadline is 7th of May. So that's in approximately 20 days. So you have enough time to finish off the application. And the round 2 deadline would be 30th of June. But I would highly, highly, highly recommend applying in round 1 because scholarships will only be given out to applicants who apply in round 1. right? And I'm more than happy to take questions about this in the second half. Step 2 is an interview and case study. So, of course, we'll do these interviews online now, and they'll be with one of our masters, right? One of the masters you saw in the previous slides, they'll actually be interviewing you, right? And they'll also give you a small case study that they'll ask you to work on with them. This will probably a 90-minute interview, right? And soon after the interview, in a couple of days, you'll probably get your admission notification and your scholarship notification, right? And then, you'll get your offer and then you have to enroll. The fee structure, I'm sure a lot of you have questions around the fee structure. There's an admissions fee, tuition fee, and the membership fee to the union. The total fee payable comes down to around 17 lakh rupees plus GST for the 16-month program. And we have a lot of scholarships. We have a total of 60 scholarships that we'll be giving out, right? And all these scholarships are financed by the masters, right? So you might remember these names from the previous slides. Karthik Ramanna, the Oxford and Harvard professor, he has, it's his named scholarship. Malvika, who is the CEO of Saatchi and Saatchi, the scholarship for women. Mukund Rajan, who was the Tata CEO, the MD of Tata Teleservices, he's also given, his name to the scholarship. Narendra Jadhav, who is a member of parliament, chief economist of the RBI, he wants to promote diversity, so he's given a diversity scholarship. In total, and then we have, of course, the Masters Union scholarships for young leaders, for technology leaders, for entrepreneurs, and for emerging leaders. So in total, we have around 60 scholarships, right? So 120 is the batch size, and 60 students will be on some sort of a scholarship. All right, so, that's the holistic view that I wanted to give you of the campus, of the program, and of the admissions process. I know I could see so many questions out, and we have maybe some time for questions now. So I think Prashant, you have collected some questions. The most popular ones, if you can ask me on behalf of the people who asked the question, I can go ahead and answer them.
Sure. So this one question we get very often is, if it's the first batch, we get asked this time and again. So if you could address it right on.
Yes. So this is the first batch of the Masters Union. Over the last few months, we have been running trials to make sure that the students, when they come in August, they have a great experience. But yes, this is the first batch, the inaugural batch, and that brings its own legacy with it. So we are actually very excited for the first class because the masters themselves would be, hand-holding each of the students to make sure that their career graphs, are optimally positioned.
Sure. Next question is if this program is really oriented towards only technology graduates.
Oh, no, not at all. So, this program is a technology program and a technology and a business management program. It's called PGP TBM. However, it is not targeted only for people who did their undergrad in technology, right? So, in fact, the applicants so far have been 50% technology, 50% either humanities or business or one of the other fields. We even have doctors who have applied. We have a BDS doctor who has applied, right? We have army men who have applied. So we have diverse people applying for it. And the technology inputs will assume zero previous knowledge, right? So even if you take a programming class as part of your program, you will start from the beginning, from the beginner's course.
Sure. Before we move on, there's something I want to share with you, Pratham. Very often we get talking to a lot of people who have, who are just keen to know what we have to offer, and we share some of what you did just. And some of them turn around and say, "But you know what? I think this is a scam." And we usually ask, "Why would you say that?" And they say, "This is too good to be true." And I usually take that as a compliment and move on.
I think Prashant, this is anything that happens for the first time. People question it, right? This is the first time probably in the history where practitioners of this level are coming down and teaching, right? And I would encourage the students, whoever is listening to me right now, please message these people on LinkedIn, right? Talk to these masters on LinkedIn. They're all available on LinkedIn and they'll all reply back to you, right? Message them, ask them about their motivation of starting Masters Union, and they'll tell you about it, right? These people are incredibly well-known people in the industry. You've seen them on TV, you've seen them in blogs, you've seen them in interviews. So please talk to them and ask them about their motivation. But I would venture that they really wanted to pay back and wanted to give students an incredible experience. Because India doesn't have top institutions. Right? Why should the top rankings only go to Harvard and Stanford and Wharton? And, we have some Indian colleges that have broken into the top rankings, but still not to the top 5 or to the top 10. So that's where Masters Union comes in, really. We want to really make sure that India can send at least one college to the top 5 business schools of the world.
All right, so this engagement with the masters has gotten a lot of people excited and interested, and there are a bunch of questions around that. So I'll try and summarize. They mostly want to check if the masters are going to, come for a one-off guest lecture-like engagement, and if not, would they be available and accessible round the year? Will they be like a physical presence in the campus round the year? And lastly, aren't these guys too busy for actually have a meaningful engagement with a newbie?
Oh, for sure. So, see, every master you see, right, especially every practitioner will be teaching a 20-hour course or will be mentoring you one-on-one, right? They have committed to it, right? In fact, we have already put them in schedule and we have put them in their Google calendars, etc. So they'll be teaching not one-off lecture. They'll be teaching a full 20-hour course over the term, which is a 6-week long term. That means they'll be coming to the classroom thrice a week for 3 hours or once a week for 3 hours, right? Depending on the duration of the course. So that's number one. Number two, to your point, aren't they busy? Yes, they are busy, right? But this is a priority. They want to pay back, right? One thing is that a lot of them are former MDs and former CEOs, right? They're not active MDs and active CEOs. And so because of that, they're able to have more time on their hands. And they really invest a lot in the students as far as my experience goes.
We're Now, again, something to do with the CXO shadow module. They want to know how we're going to go about it. What basis would the mapping happen on? Would the student get to choose who they want to, shadow or be mentored by?
Sure. So it's really interesting. We have, as I said, more than 120, masters who are on our board and who will be teaching. And the students will actually fill in their preferences, right? And for the top 3 preferences, they'll have to write maybe a small paragraph as to why they think that they should be partnered with this person, right? We will send those applicants to those masters, and the masters will then choose exactly who they want to mentor. So it'll be a sort of a matching process that we'll be doing. And we'll try to make sure that everyone gets their top choice.
All right. Now, a bunch of questions around the COVID crisis. In fact, some of them want to know what a strategy is. What happens if the lockdown is increased all the way up to August? So,
our program is a 16-month program with a 3-month internship in place and a 1-month buffer, which was supposed to be utilized for holidays. So in case the COVID lockdown continues beyond August, which is highly unlikely, but if it does, then we have a 1-month buffer. And if it crosses that 1-month buffer also, then we'll start the classes online straight away.
All right.
But there'll be no loss in terms of curriculum.
Okay. Now they want to understand how the scholarships work and if there's a separate form that they have to fill to access them.
Yeah. So when you're filling in the application form, there's a separate section for applying for scholarships. And then you can just check which scholarship you want to apply for. And some scholarships will ask you to upload some more data or some more documentation. You can just upload that and that's about it. There is no separate essay required for the scholarships.
All right. Moving on, some want to know if we have a residential campus.
Yes, of course. So right now, very close to our campus is our residential campus where you'll be provided housing as well.
Okay. And what are the interviews going to look like? What can they expect when they step into it?
Sure. So the interview process is actually, it's simple but exhaustive. And I've sat on these interviews. They're extremely exhaustive. So just warning you a little bit here. So the masters themselves will be interviewing, as I said, and it will be a 90-minute interview. Half of it will be talking about your career aspirations, what you've been doing so far, etc., and what your learnings have been. And half of it will be a case study, right? A case analysis. So you'll be given something to read, and the master will then discuss that case study with you and really try to understand how you think about things, right? You do not have to prepare for this case study. You do not have to do any homework, anything like that. it just will be completely, extempore, if you will.
Pratham, a lot of interest coming in from people who, I would imagine never saw themselves as these, business graduates or management, students. But, Masters Union and its proposition has gotten many of them interested. And I see many of them on the question answer section. And, there's a common trend. They all saying that, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, this was never on my agenda, but, I may want to explore. So, what does it have? I mean, like, what does the Masters Union proposition have for me if I'm looking at making that big career switch?
See, I think the two legs on which future careers will stand on, right? One is technology, and one is working and collaborating with teams. If you understand these two things, irrespective whether you're in the army, irrespective whether you are, a doctor, irrespective if you work in the supply chain, I think it'll be relevant to you. Right. So I think, and that's why the masters wanted to open up this program for anybody from any sort of a background, just so that we can bring in those diverse fields in the classroom. So imagine being in the same classroom and talking about business, with someone who's a doctor, with someone who's an accountant, with someone who's been in the army, with someone who's been in construction. We had someone who applied who's been in construction, who actually very incredibly has helped build the same building that we'll be in. He was one of the project managers of DLF. So, and he has applied, and I think he has great chances because he has a very good CV. So I think anyone from any background will benefit from this because technology is relevant to every dimension.
Sure. Again, something that many people want to ask: what will the placements look like?
Of course. So as I said, we already have 127 companies who have committed to coming in and recruiting the students, right? Part of the reason is that the MDs of those companies are actually teaching or are mentoring you, right, Prashant? So because of that, we have so many companies coming in, we have a rule, which is that the minimum offer, that a company has to make to a student is at least 15 lakhs. Otherwise, we don't let the company even come to our class, to our campus, right? So 15 lakhs is the minimum. Number one. Number two, because the masters are involved. And, again, this is the first time this has ever happened because the masters are involved in your careers. And these masters are themselves the leaders of these very companies. They'll make sure that you're ready and prepared for exactly the kind of requirements that these companies have, right? So I have no doubt in my mind that because masters are involved, the CEO himself is mentoring you. I think placement should be the last question on anyone's minds.
Sure. Well, another interesting set of questions, and there were a couple. I've tried to club them. They want to know, because you spoke about building a brand which really lasts and becomes one of the best across the world. So they actually want us to have. Want to talk about the kind of world ranking that you expect Masters Union to achieve, and how do we compare with established business schools in India like the IIMs or even ISP Hyderabad?
Sure. So Prashant, that's a difficult question. We'll only know the rankings once maybe next year. But I'm very confident that because the professors that we have are professors from the top institutions, because the practitioners that we have are MDs and CXOs, right? So with these kind of inputs and with these kind of teachers teaching, I think we should be able to crack into the team's goal and the master's goal is to make sure that we crack into the top 10 of Financial Times rankings in the next 2 to 3 years, right? That's extremely ambitious, but we are pretty confident that with the kind of pedigree that we have amongst our masters, we should be able to reach that stage.
Sure. So, this is something people would want more clarity on. I mean, mostly the infrastructure side of the program. They want to know what the campus looks like and, whether the campus, the residential space that we can provide them, is that included in the fee? How far is it? Can they, operate from their homes? Can they do a back and forth on a daily basis?
Sure. So the campus, as you know, is located in the middle of Gurgaon. Right. So, if you live in Gurgaon, then you can commute. I don't think you have to use our residential services. If you want to use the residential services, it's around 3.5 kilometers away, and we'll be running our shuttles as well, every hour, so you can take one of those shuttles, right? And the fees is not included in the overall fees, but you can see the website for the details around the student housing. But it ranges between 1.5 lakhs to 2.5 lakhs, depending on what configuration you take. Now, the campus is a beautiful campus. I have put, there are some pictures on the website that you can see, but it's a beautiful campus. Because it's in a building which is very new, and we share our office space, as I said, with Bank of America, with BCG, with Trilegal, top companies, Nielsen. So we are on the ground floor, they're on the upper floors, and it's a beautiful classroom. You have to really visit to see it. And I think once the lockdown opens up, I would love for the students. Hello?
Yeah. I can hear you. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I think
I think we lost Prashant. But I can answer the questions as well. So one of the questions I can see is, I'm a fresher and currently I'm in the last year, so am I eligible for this program? So Chetan, yes, you are eligible. You can apply. And the masters will ask you a lot of questions around your experience as an undergrad, right? So I think you must apply. I'm sure if you're talking to us, you have a good background. So you should apply and let the masters decide, whether this is the right program for you or not. But in terms of eligibility, yes, you're eligible. So all freshers can apply. I just for the audience in general, all freshers can apply. And please make sure that you highlight your achievements, your learnings in the undergrad, in your undergrad time in the application.
Pratham, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Again, another very critical question. They all want to know where we stand vis-a-vis our accreditation as a business school.
Sure. Guys, masters have discussed this at length. And what we have decided is that, the Indian accreditation systems, we don't want to apply for those right now. Because the Indian accreditation systems are slightly, the philosophy is slightly different, right? So what we have decided is that we will apply for all the international accreditations. The same accreditations that HBS and Wharton and INSEAD and LBS have, we will be applying for those rather than the Indian ones. However, the industry has welcomed our program with wide arms, right? As I said, 127 companies already confirmed to attend. So the companies are accrediting us in a way, right? So we are just happy and very satisfied with that.
All right. Somebody wants to loop back to the question around scholarships and wants to know if we have a tie-up with an existing bank or many tie-ups which they can explore.
Oh, you mean for loans?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Sure. So you can go on the website. We have a lot of banking partners who will happily, finance you, and you can look at all the details on our website under the admissions tab.
All right. Somebody wants to know if their work as part of a family business counts as WorkX.
Yeah. So I also come from a family business, so I completely understand your question. Yes, it does. It definitely does. Right. However, in the past, we have seen people, fudge their family business experience. Right. So they say that, they've been working in the family business for these many years, but when we ask them questions about it, they're not able to answer. Right. So I would recommend that if you have less experience, mention the less amount of experience. Don't try to inflate the numbers at all. Right. This will not go in your favor. The masters are intelligent enough to figure out what is true, what is false. So, keep your application sincere and honest. And family business definitely counts. And in fact, I think working in a family business can be much harder. Working under your father can be much harder than working for a boss. So we completely recommend that.
All right. Now there's a question for, again, an admission policy question. Are we entertaining referral requests?
Not at the moment, no. I think, that's not in our policy. If you want to apply for next year, you should wait and apply for next year. Right. So I think by the time we hit August or September, the COVID situation would have improved. already, in many states it's improving. So I think by August we'll be safe. And the masters have not taken any decision as yet to delay or to allow people to defer the program for now.
All right. Another recurring question. How exactly are the recommendation letters meant to reach us? What's the format we are looking for? And also the kind of people they should ideally be seeking the recommendation from?
Yeah. So I think you should ask for recommendations from people who know you, right? That's a short answer to the question. For a longer answer, I think the best thing you can do is, your previous boss, the person you reported to previously in your company. I think that would be a great person to get a recommendation from. In a family business, you can definitely get from your father, but I would recommend getting it from one of your colleagues, who you worked alongside. If you are applying directly from undergrad, if you're a fresher, you can ask any of your professors or teachers to write your recommendation letter as well. Right. So it's an online system. You can just tell us the name, the email, and the phone number of the person who you want as your recommender, and then we will send them an email and get the recommendation for you. Again, don't fudge your recommendation. Don't write your recommendation letter yourself. Right. Like, please make sure that it's a genuine recommendation. It doesn't matter if it's formatted badly. It doesn't matter if it's worded wrongly. Like, it should be genuine. Right. So that's really important. Make sure you don't fudge the recommendation letter. I think we lost Prashant again, but I'll take questions from the chat. How soon will you be applying for international accreditation? Will it make any difference if you're getting that degree without? No, it doesn't make any difference at all. See, at the end of the day, the industry has to accredit, right? If the industry is ready to take our students, which they are, no accreditation can stop them, right? However, we'll be applying for the accreditation. We have already applied for some of the accreditations, and some of the accreditations we'll be applying for over the course of the first year. But I don't think that should hamper any situation. If a candidate comes from a family business, can they also participate in campus placement? Yes, of course you can. A candidate who comes from a family business background, he can definitely participate, in campus placements. Discuss it. One-on-one office hours. So there's a question about one-on-one office hours and how frequently will these sessions be. So every student can get a one-on-one office hour session with any professor, right? And that depends on the professor's availability, but they'll be available for 6 hours, 4 to 6 hours every week. So you can schedule a 15-20-minute session with the professor. Very easily done, right? However, the person that you are who's your mentor, who's going to be your mentor throughout the entire year, you can talk to him on WhatsApp at any point in time. He's your full-time mentor, right? He is invested in you. So you can talk to him as often as you want. How the soft infrastructure of the conventional business school has, for example, clubs, festivals, exchange programs. Yeah. So we have around 12 different clubs. You can see in the social tab of the website. But we have the family business club, we have the private equity club, we have the theater club, and we have all of these clubs on campus. And we highly recommend that students participate in these clubs because it's part of the overall grooming, right? Festival, annually we'll have a large festival in our campus where students from all across the country are more than welcome to attend. We are expecting around maybe 400 to 500 participants every year. And this would be sort of like a, mega fest, like a Mood Indigo that you might have heard of that happens in IIT Bombay, right? So along those lines. What are you expecting from the prospective students and what is the quality you're looking for? This is Chaturi's question. Chaturi is a great question. I think the main thing that we're looking for is willingness to learn, right? These masters have given you their time, right? So what they want to know is that whether you will use their time wisely, right? So curiosity, humility, and openness to learning is what they're looking at, number one. Number two is your experience. What do you bring to the classroom? So if you have had interesting experiences in life, in leadership, in operations, in absolutely any field, I think that is what the professors are looking for. This diverse experience at the end of the day. So I would highly recommend, Chaturi, that in your application you talk about how you are unique. What do you bring to the table, right? I think if you are able to do that, you will definitely be accepted. With no alumni base, how good would be the career path? Because the alumni base is helpful. So Varun, great question, right? See, I think we have a lot of masters who are invested in the institution, right? Who are giving their time, effort, money to run this institution, right? And you're right that we don't have alumni, but we do have these people who can help you climb the corporate ladder, right? You could have, let's say, your target company is Bank of America, or your target company is ICICI Bank, right? I understand. You might not have seniors who are studying there, but you have a mentor who is an MD of that same bank, right? So I think you're more than covered. But you're right. I mean, we don't have the alumni privilege right now. Surya's question. I'm a student as well as an entrepreneur running my startup from the last 1.5 years, but my company was registered 6 months ago. So that would be yes. So we have a scholarship which is specifically for entrepreneurs. So you can definitely apply for that scholarship. Surya. Sparsh has an interesting question. What exactly happens in the weekly networking dinners? So they're bi-weekly. They happen twice a week. And so in this dinner, you have all the students and you have all the masters and some invitees coming in for a social dinner, right? This will be a casual space outside of the office hours, outside of the mentorship hours, where you can really talk and collaborate with people who you otherwise might not get a chance to meet, right? So let's say you have 4 classes during the day. You met with 4 masters. You have a master who's your mentor, so that's 5 masters who you meet during the day. But we have hundreds of masters, right? So in those dinners, you can meet with any of those as well. And of course, there is dinner served, which I hope will be nice. So fresher questions, we've already responded to those. Deferral, we've already responded to those. So Anubhav's question is a very interesting question. Can you share profiles of students who are getting admitted at a rolling level? Yes. So, I'll give you maybe 4 examples quickly, right? These are 4 offers that we have made already, right? These are people who applied very early, right, Anubhav? So one of the applicants is, one of the student who's been admitted is a student who worked in Goldman Sachs for 2.5 to 3 years. And he, his undergrad education was from one of the IITs. And he wants to change his career path and enter into private equity, right? So IIT, Goldman Sachs, Masters Union, and his target is private equity. Second example is of a student who's from a company called Greenply. They're a manufacturing company. They make the wooden plies that go in our homes, right? So he was the assistant vice president there, right? So he comes from a core industry, and he wants to get into banking next, right? His undergrad, he's a DU graduate, I think from a Hindu college, if I'm not wrong. Another sort of alternative career is someone who was in the army. I was giving this example before, for 20 years, right? He's been a captain, he's been a brigadier. So he's a very senior army man, right? But he wants to now transition into a different industry altogether. He doesn't know which industry he wants to go into, but he wants to get into business, right? And he also wants to start his own business. I think that's his target. So someone of that caliber is also applying. And the final example I'd like to give you is a fresher, right, who's from St. Stephen's. He did his undergrad in economics, and his thought was that my undergrad wasn't hands-on enough. That I know economics, I can tell you the definitions, but I don't know what happens in the industry, and I don't think I'll be able to get a job that I deserve coming out of DU. So he's enrolled for the MBA, for the PGP as well. So those are the 4 examples. I hope that answers your question. What is the maximum and minimum scholarship amount we can expect from the 60 scholarships? Akshesh. So Akshesh, scholarships range from 25% of the fee amount up to 100% of the fee amount, right? And that will depend on a case-to-case basis who will be given what kind of a scholarship. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so Dev Jyoti has a good question, which is after the completion of the course, if one wants to go for entrepreneurship and let's say it doesn't work out for him, so can he sit for placements again? Yes, you can sit for placements anytime within the first 5 years of your graduation. So within the first 5 years after you graduate, you can sit for placements at any time. So Prabhav has a question. often profiles from different companies are varying in terms of role. Could you give some clarity on the type of roles that companies would offer? Sure. So it will vary a lot, but I think I'll put them in three categories. Right. One category is hardcore marketing. Right. So marketing roles, digital marketing roles across different levels, across different industries. Right. So we'll have FMCG marketing roles, we'll have B2B marketing roles. So that's marketing. The second big bucket is finance. Right. And there, I think companies are looking for senior business analysts. Right, they're looking for people who know Excel like the back of their hand. Right, they know, and I think they're always on accelerated trajectory, an accelerated career trajectory, and they can expect hopefully a junior vice president role sooner than later. And the third big bucket is management and administration. Right, and here the job offers are to do with supply chain and operations mostly. Right, so these are the three broad roles that companies would be looking for at a senior business analyst level for all three of them. So Gopinath has a question. I'm coming from a manufacturing background. I want to get into marketing and advertisement. What are the prospects? Completely. So I think this is a great question. A lot of the companies who want to hire for marketing roles, they're actually looking for people who have industry experience within that same industry. So let's say Gopinath, I don't know which manufacturing background you're from, but let's say you're from automobiles, right? I'm sure you're very well placed for a marketing position at, let's say, a Maruti Suzuki, right? Because Maruti understands that you know the industry really well, right? And now you can be, induced into a marketing role because you already know the industry so well. So Shivesh has a question. It has been a great session. Thank you. I have a request from the recruitment team. I work in Bangalore, but with lockdown, I'm stuck at my hometown. I don't have all the documents that maybe. Could you please extend the application deadline according to the lockdown situation? Shivesh, you can apply and you can get in touch with us. Some of your documents can come in later, no problem. But we cannot extend the application deadline. We have already received so many applicants that will be not doing justice to them. So if you don't have some documents, please reach out to us. Maybe we waive off the requirement for you. We are very flexible that way. So, and my team is also watching this, and from the admissions team, if someone can just help Shivesh through his documentation. And I'm sorry that sorry about the lockdown, and sorry, I can feel your pain. Akshesh has another question about the 5 crore fund. We made profit and then distribute among the various team handling it, but what if it goes below the corpus amount? Yeah, so if you make a loss, then the masters will be covering that loss. You don't have to worry about it. We will not take it out of your bank accounts. So don't worry about it. Priyansh has a good question, which is around his CAT percentile. What CAT percentile is a good percentile? See, honestly, I'm not sure what was your percentile, Priyansh, but Masters Union looks at your entire application, not just one score, right? So, you can apply with your CAT score. We'll take it into account, but we don't even require CAT, right? So we'll be looking at your overall application, your essay, your recommendation letter, as well as the interview that you have, right? And then we'll make you an offer. So even if you have a lower CAT, I think you should apply. So I will not throw a number, an ideal CAT score. It's obviously 100 percentile, right? But you should apply, and we will look at you holistically, right? Not just your CAT score. International placements, yes. So out of the 127 companies that I mentioned, there are at least 13 companies that have been identified who are looking for international spots, right? Who want, their placements are going to be international, right? The two most, most common internship placement locations outside of India are Dubai and Singapore for now. We also have Nepal, if that counts, because CG Group is the largest company in Nepal, is also going to be recruiting. Sarvam. So it's almost 7 p.m. I'll keep answering the questions, but I think whoever needs to leave, I think can start leaving at 7 p.m. But Sarvam has a question about me personally. Why did I join the Masters Union B School, and in what capacity have I joined? I already have a successful startup. So some of the story goes like this. Some of the people who are involved in this, the masters, they were my former professors, and they knew that I was in India, and I was running a startup, and they said, your startup is doing well, you have been running it for a while, why don't you help us now in building this? And so they were convincing enough, and so I decided to I haven't left my startup, but I'm a non-executive leader there, and I'm full-time now in Masters Union, because I think this is an incredibly great opportunity to totally disrupt education, right? No one has ever seen an education system like the one that we are creating, where practitioners will be teaching. So I'm so excited. And so when the masters told me that, Pratham, please lead this, I said, I'm doing this for sure. How to decide which type of scholarship is relevant for me? Akshesh has a question. There's so many categories. Yes. So, there are 8 scholarships in total, and let me just open them up quickly. Here on the screen, you can see. So Karthik Ramana scholarship is a merit-based scholarship, which depends on where you rank in our admission ranking list, right? So that's completely on the basis of a merit, right? Malvika's is of course for women. Mukundarajan India Bound Scholarship. That again is a merit-based scholarship. So I think you can apply for it. A diversity scholarship, if you feel that you're from a background which is not usually represented, right? So if you're, for example, from IIT or DU and you've been working in tech or banking, then diversity scholarship is not for you, right? MU scholarship for young leaders is for people who are freshers, right? The technology leader scholarship is for people who come from a technology background, hardcore technology background. They are from programmers, possibly. Scholarship for entrepreneurs is for entrepreneurs. And the emerging leaders scholarship is a scholarship that is given to people who participate in the emerging business leaders competition that you can find more details about. It's a business plan competition that the Masters Union is running, and you can find more details about this competition on the website. So if you rank in the top 3 of that program, that competition, then you're giving the MU Emerging Leaders Scholarship. Yes, there are student exchange programs. The participating schools, Anshul, we can have a one-to-one conversation, and we can answer your question over email as well, and we'll give you a list. But we have different schools in London, in Europe, in the US. However, I would recommend that maybe in the inaugural year, because of COVID issues, you should be careful about which country you select to go to. Anubhav has another question. Since I have like 3 years of experience and already at level of senior business analyst, will companies be offering jobs based on previous experience, or will they be mostly similar level roles? As in, okay, no. So companies, there, as I said, 127 companies hiring for different kinds of roles at different levels also, right? So Anubhav, I understand that you are already at a level of senior business analyst. So you don't have to sit in the interview process of the companies that that are recruiting for junior level business analyst. We will have companies who are recruiting for senior business analyst and above roles as well, right? In fact, I think it's almost going to be 50-50, because most of our students come with experience. Sulabh has a question. Will the professors from Harvard, Wharton, etc. be coming into the campus, or will the session be scheduled via video conferencing? So right now, in the first 2 terms, there are 5 Harvard or Wharton professors who are scheduled, out of which 4 will be coming on campus and 1 would be doing via teleconferencing. And he was going to come on campus, but now he had to change his plans because of COVID. Can I apply to 1 or more scholarships? Yes, you can apply to multiple scholarships if they are relevant to you. The batch size is going to be 120 students. Dev Jyoti has a question, which is that you come from an IT MNC performing functional roles. Sorry, it just went down. And have gained digital coding skills. Which scholarship can I think you should apply for the technology leader scholarship for sure. I think that you'll be very, very relevant for that. Anshul, you're an IT professional with 2.9 years of work ex. However, due to some family reasons, you had to leave your job in November. and you've been searching for jobs since then, what kind of implications will we will look at the 3 years of experience that you have and not the 3 or 4 months that you were not employed. So don't worry about it. I don't think it will have any detrimental impact on your application. Sparsh has a question. I have work experience of 1 year in a consulting company. How can I compete with applicants applying with 10 to 20 years of work experience in the army? Because you won't be applying for the same roles. They'll be applying for the different kind of a role, and you will be applying for a different kind of a role, right? As I said, different companies are recruiting at different levels, right? And the masters who will be mentoring you, they'll also help you figure out exactly which role and which company you're most and the best suited to. Yeah, so Samrid has a question. Samrid, so most of these companies are companies whose masters or whose CEOs, MDs are already teaching at the Masters Union. And you can find a list of these companies on our careers page. You can find all the logos and the companies there. But yes, they have committed. They will be recruiting for different roles at different levels. And the reason this was possible, even though it's our first year, is because the masters are teaching, right? They are teaching themselves. We are in the industry. It's not that industry and Masters Union are separate. We are part of the same group. How many applications are we expecting? I don't want to give this number out because I don't want to discourage you from applying if the number is very high. But I think you should apply and you should pray that you get accepted. But we think the acceptance rate would probably be in the vicinity of 3 to 4% for round 2 and 8 to 9% for round 1. Samrid, your question around will all students be required to stay in the residential campus or can they stay in your home? It's totally up to you. If you live in Gurgaon, if you have your home in Gurgaon, you can live there. I would recommend staying in the residential campus because it's a nice experience to even live with the people you're studying, but that's totally up to you. So Tanmay has another question. Does working as a marketer in high-tech space allows me to apply for technology? Yes. Yes, it does. Because, I understand that if you've been marketing for technology, you probably use a lot of digital marketing skill sets. So yes, that does qualify you for a technology leader scholarship as well. You should apply. Priyansh, yes, you can get a recommendation letter from a team manager at a previous company that you interned at. Shivam, you have 4 years of manufacturing experience at RB is Reckitt Ben Skinker, right? Yeah. I'm looking for a general management position. How can MU help you? So I think I think Reckitt is the same company that runs Dettol and Lysol and all of these, right? So if you have manufacturing experience, as I said before, also I think companies are looking for people with talent and people who can think differently and who have exposure to the industry. So I have no doubt that with the inputs that you will get at Masters Union, and of course your background in place, you should be able to get a marketing and even a general management role. So I have no doubt about that. But if you have further questions, Shivam, more than happy to talk offline as well. Is there any percentage of admissions that is reserved for entrepreneurs? No, there is no quota at all. Sulabh, the emerging business leaders registration is closed. No, I'm so sorry that it is closed. So I think you should apply for the other scholarships, but the emerging business leaders scholarship would not be available to you anymore. Guru Pratap, yeah, hopefully, let's pray that, by the time the course starts, the problem has been solved, but I think we will still maybe we have smaller dinners, we'll have more intimate dinners rather than big dinners. That's definitely a possibility. Any application fee to be paid for the admissions process? Yes, there is a fee. I think it's 2,500 rupees for round 1. Sparsh, down the road, can we expect other courses apart from PGP, TBM? So Sparsh, let me explain. So TBM gives you various concentrations that you can concentrate in. You get a lot of options actually. So if you go onto the academics page, you'll see that within TBM, You can either, and let me just quickly open that page. On the screen, you can see that these are all the concentrations that are available. So TBM is an overarching name, and you can concentrate in any of these industries that you want, right? So in a way, we're already offering 5 different specializations, right? And of course, the 4 core concentrations everyone has to do. So Samrit, I think another person had this question: who is running this initiative? Is there any one-person organization, primary master, who's getting together all the masters involved and forging the industry partnerships? Yeah. So there were 3 major forces that sort of brought this campus together, right? And if I had to give one name, it would be Dr. Karthik Ramanna, who is one of the Harvard professors. He was the first person to come on our board. And he's the one who sort of emailed everyone, and then one person referred somebody else, and someone else referred somebody else, and that's how the entire group was created. It was very organic. So the main force, I would say, would be Dr. Karthik Ramanna. But soon when he started, other professors also joined in a big way, right? Bhaskar Chaturvedi, who again is a HPS Chakravarti, who's also an HPS professor, but right now the dean at Tufts. He also was one of the first board members to really sort of power this organization. But what they have done is they have employed me and several other team members who are then now going ahead and implementing this, right? Who are going ahead and bringing industries on board and who are forging all these partnerships. Anshul Kakria has a question that these masters are professionals who were CXOs and MDs sometime back. So will the curriculum that will be taught by them up to the mark? See, these people are industry leaders, right? And they are leaders because over the period of time, they've kept themselves updated with everything, right? For example, let me give you an example, is Mr. Manoj Kohli. He was the CEO and MD of Airtel until 2013. And right now he's a SoftBank head for India, right? Person, in fact, I think if you want to see his face, I'll just quickly point it out, is I think right here, right? Now, he is someone who is a visionary, right? I don't think that, and he's a visionary in management, and management principles don't change, yeah? So I think his information will be totally up to date. He reads a lot. These people are visionaries. I don't think we can discount them in any way. So and the technology people who are teaching the technology bootcamps, those will be current industry folks. They'll be much younger people who know the technology hands-on, and they'll be teaching you technology. So they'll of course be a different set of professors. Sorry, I lost count of the question. Krishna, the core curriculum courses are very interesting. Are these completely new to B schools, or are the courses just renamed? No, I think some are renamed and some are completely new. So let me just open the courses quickly. So I think management is an old program, but strategy taught at the MBA level, specifically strategy, would be completely new. Design taught at the MBA level will be new as well. Fintech, of course, is going to be new. I don't think any of the IIMs also teach fintech the way we think about it. Or business analytics and statistics. I don't think it's taught, or even computing at the core level in other management institutions. So that's going to be very new. So Priyansh, as you told the question, so if I wish to move abroad, will this degree be considered a valid postgraduate degree, PG diploma? Yes. If you go abroad, this will be considered a very valid PG certificate. So every country has its own, but to give you the rule of thumb, we are accredited the same way ISB is accredited, right? So the way ISB students are eligible for jobs outside is the same with Masters Union as well. There is no difference in terms of accreditations. Jayakishan, coming from a very small scale business run by a family, what are my chances of conversion, given that my interest in joining such a unique course is very high and my way of perceiving is different? Jayakishan, I think, no matter what scale the business is, it offers something to learn. So if you've been involved in a very small scale business, which is run by family, I think the ideas that you will bring to the table will be unique in their own way. And at Masters Union, we value all opinions equally, right? So, coming from a small scale business will not put you at a disadvantage at any level. Yes. So Sulabh has a question about a trip to Silicon Valley. Yes, Sulabh. So there will be a 1 week optional trip to Silicon Valley if you'd like to take that. There will be, I think it's going to be after term 5. So that will be March of next year. Ravleen Singh, I'm into family business. So reference could come from any of the customers or suppliers. Yes, you can get references from your customers, your suppliers, your even your teammates. That's also totally fine. Samrit, the companies listed on the bootcamps pages on the side deck, are they all confirmed or are they illustrative? Let me just open the bootcamp. Samrit, if you can give me a specific question, because we haven't listed the companies under bootcamps. So if you can ask the specific company name, I can tell you. But if the company's name or logo is on the website, it's because we have a partnership with them and it's not illustrative. I mean, they're real. Akshesh, how many essays do we exactly need to submit? Because in the brochure, it was mentioned 1 or 2, and some more insights on the topic of essays. Yeah. So Akshesh, once you start the application process, you'll be able to see it's 1 essay. If you're applying for certain scholarships, you might have to write another essay. So that's why 1 or 2. The essay is asking you, the compulsory essay is asking you to talk about one company that you would invest in and why would you like to invest in that company. So it's putting you in the shoes of a venture capitalist and asking you to think like a venture capitalist. Mihir, rephrasing here. Are we ahead of the curve in finance industry? We join Masters Union and not opting, are we ahead of the curve in finance industry? We join Masters Union and not opt for going to IIM. Mihir, let's take this over a call. I think I'm not able to understand your question, but my team, if you guys are listening, if you can just note down Mihir's question and we can answer his question after this, 1-to-1. What is the fee for accommodation? It ranges from 1.5 lakhs to 2.5 lakhs per annum, depending on whether you get a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom. Hardik, will MU help scale up my startup? And your website mentioned something about co-working. Can you explain? Yes, Hardik. So Hardik, Masters Union is a very interesting campus. It's a campus in the middle of the industry. So we have sort of a co-working space as well, where you can, let me just drink some water. I'm sorry. Thank you. So Hardik, will MU help scale up my startup? And your website mentioned something about co-working. Yeah. So your master, so when you are selecting your one-on-one, mentorship master, you should select someone who knows about your industry. So I'm not sure which industry your startup is in, but you should select very wisely. And I'm sure he will help you, give you the right advice. And maybe, who knows, the investment fund that we're talking about, they decide to invest in your startup, right? So if you want to continue working from the Masters Union campus, you can continue working on the Masters Union campus up to 5 years. Hardik, what kind of placement packages can one expect at MU? The minimum offer that the company has to make to be allowed to do on-campus recruitment is 15 lakhs. It can go anywhere up to 42, 43 lakhs. Samrit, thanks for the question again. I meant the industry immersed curriculum. Samrit, I think it'll be better if we take this question one-on-one. Again, my team, if you can just note down Samrit's details and we can talk to Samrit one-on-one over the phone. Anshul has another question, which is, as you said, that because of the ongoing corona crisis, test scores are being waived off. So should one report his or her standing sub-Gmat score, or should you apply with no scores at all? No, if you have a score, you should apply. I think you should definitely apply. Because that gives us more information, and a lesser score will not put you at a big disadvantage if you have other things that are good about you. So I think if I had to give test scores, if I had to assign them a weightage, out of 100, it will be less than 5, right? We are looking at so much more. We're looking at you holistically. The Gmat score will not matter. For industry concentrations, we need to select only 2 or even less or more than 2. No, so it's exactly 2, right? Not less than 2. If you want to do 1 extra, I think it'll be very hard for you to manage the curriculum. I will not stop you. No one will stop you. The masters would love it, but I think it'll be difficult for you to manage. Abhishek has a question. PGP TBM at Masters Union will be helping to diversify and streamline into a specific concentration, irrespective of past background, right? Like I come from chemical manufacturing, but I always want to dream work in private equity investment banking. Yeah, Abhishek. So, I also before I started my company, for some time I worked in private equity, and private equity people love applicants who have worked in the industry before, right? So maybe since you have chemical manufacturing background, you can find job at a private equity company that specifically focuses on investing in chemical manufacturing, right? So for sure, I think you'll be a great prospective applicant to join a private equity or an investment banking role. Masters, so the last question I think we will take, and after this, I think we should. Okay, we'll take one more question after this one. I'll answer Nitin's question and then I'll answer the team's question. So Nitin's question is, with all the industry knowledge that the institute is providing, whether the focus to provide placements or help people in startup building, with all the industry knowledge. Okay, so Nitin, I think it's both, right? Like it's of course to provide placements and also to help people in building the company that they want to build entrepreneurially. You can tailor your own experience at Masters Union by deciding which concentration you want to do, by deciding which mentor you want to be working with, by deciding which electives you take. I think you can feel your own course. Right? Okay. Shotoisha, nice name. You're from a creative graphics and digital marketing background in the fitness industry. What scholarships will you be eligible for? Marketing, brand design is a core concentration that interests me. But what companies are linked with MU post this course? Shotoisha, I think we can have a one-on-one as well and exactly help you figuring out which scholarship you should look at. But I think if you're from a digital marketing background, the technology leaders scholarship would definitely be relevant for you, as well as the merit scholarship. I think you should apply for, and we'll make sure that on the application you will get details as to who exactly should apply for which scholarship, right? So that will be provided in the information in the application process. CB has a question. I wish to be in the management consulting industry after the program. What advantages does this program offer? CB, management consulting requires you to have a very holistic background. Requires you to have a knowledge of a diverse set of things. And Masters Union, because of the kind of diversity we have in our courses, I think you can make sure that you select exactly those courses that help you land a management consulting job, and find a mentor who is from a management consulting background, and we can help you with that. I think with those two things rightly positioned, I think you'll be well set for a management consulting role. But just let me tell you, management consulting is a very and so is private equity. They are very competitive fields. They're not easy to get into, so you really have to work hard. Ravleen, any line on which interviews or case studies would be based? No. So these case studies could be, in manufacturing, could be from marketing, could be from finance. But don't worry at all. They will not require any previous knowledge in a specific industry. They'll be generic. Akshesh, so after finishing the registration process, is there any deadline for applying for scholarship? No, you have to apply for scholarship when you apply for the normal program, right? So it's a one deadline, no two deadlines. So scholarship is the same deadline as the application. Chetan, can you please send me your contact number? Sure, Chetan. My I'll email it to you, or I will answer you privately. Okay, I'll send it to you. Feel free to message me. I'm happy to talk to you. Himanshu, can we connect with the masters on LinkedIn? Yes, please feel free to connect with the masters on LinkedIn and talk to them about any questions that you have. And you can maybe start building that relationship. Once you're accepted, you should talk to them for sure. But even now, they'll be more than happy to talk to you and answer your questions. Abhishek, you can email us at info@mastersunion.org. We'll send an email to everybody. If they have any follow-up questions, they can just reply to that email. Anshul has another question. From where can we see the exhaustive list of 127 companies we are going to visit for placements? Most of the companies have been, their logos or their names are mentioned on the placements on the careers page, and the other ones will. I think most of them should already be there. Akshesh, sure. Akshesh, my contact number. I'm just replying to you personally on one-on-one. I'll send it to you. Harsh, working professionals will have 3 months to work for their current company. How do you suggest to deal with it? Harsh, I'm not sure if I understand your question, but feel free to email sort of a detailed question, and then we can offer you a detailed response. But I'm not sure. Or maybe if you can just write it again. You mean you're currently working with the company or during the internship? I'm not sure about your question. Okay, and if I've missed any question, if my team or if the person who's listening, if they can just write the question again, because this list of questions otherwise is very long. Sajal, I answered this question, Sajal. So Dr. Karthik Ramanna was one of the first ones to sort of come together, and think of this and really conceptualize and build this. But then everyone else sort of poured in and really sort of gave their input as to how it should be built and how it should be led. So it's a collective effort, But Krishna, I said 127 companies will be participating in placements. Have all these companies committed for 15 lakhs and above offers? I want to move to product management from supply chain. Yes, Krishna. So these 127 companies, very honestly, all these companies have committed to coming to the campus, right? Some are coming for internships, some are coming for full-time roles, right? So the ones that are coming for full-time roles, they will only be allowed to come if they offer a 15 lakh package, right? And my sense is that most of them will be offering a 15 lakh package. Lots of questions. The 3-month internship will be provided by MU, or is it something that has to be fetched on your own? No, so there will be companies that will come into the campus for on-campus internship recruitment. But if you want to find something on your own also, you're more than we welcome you to do that as well. Ravleen, this type of practicality in education is just a dream. Thank you. Gopinath, you want my phone number? Sure, I'll just reply. Himanshu, please write email ID where we can ask any questions. Himanshu, you can ask questions on info@mastersunion.org. I've sent you the email as well. Harsh, let's come back to your question. I think yours is a slightly complicated question. We can take this offline as well. Okay, so how about this? I'll share my contact information with everyone over email, so you all will have my contact information. Okay. Sparsh, how many are coming for internships and how many are coming for jobs? I'm not sure of the exact number, but most of the ones who are coming for internships are also coming for full-time. There'll be very few who will only coming for internships. Akshesh, how much stipend can we expect during the 3 months internship? Akshesh, it really depends on the role. I think some internships might be unpaid, and some internships might be paying at the level of the full-time roles, right? So it stands to be seen, and it'll depend on the internship, and also depend on your profile. All right. Any other questions that I have missed? Okay, so I think we are 90 minutes into this. I think most of the questions have been answered. Harsh, I know your question is left, so you can just message on our group or our email. I'm sending you our email. So feel free to just ask your question there, and we'll take it offline. Cool. So, okay, considering the current market crisis because of the ongoing corona pandemic, what are your views regarding pursuing an MBA at this time? That's a good question, Anshul. I think the hiring market will be frozen for the next maybe 6 to 7 months for sure. Right? It's going to be a very tough job market, but I think in 2021 we'll start seeing a comeback, right? And you will be graduating in November of December of 2021. So I think by then, the industry will be back. I feel I can venture that I'll probably be going through a boom at that time. So I think it's the right time to graduate. So I think after April of next year, things will start to look better, and the hiring would be on an upflow. So I think it's a good time to do your MBA. And especially an MBA that will be starting in in September, like the Masters Union is. Sarvam, what are the advantages and disadvantages of being the first batch? Good question here. So I think disadvantages, let's take them second. I'll tell you about the advantages. I think this will be a revolution in education, right? That's for sure. This is going to be a revolution in education. Never before have we seen something like this, right? Never before have we seen practitioners of this level coming into the classroom and teaching, right? The MD and CEO of Airtel will be teaching you branding, right? That is unheard of, right? So the advantage is that you get to form a legacy, right? That when you graduate 20 years down the line, you will be able to say that you were the inaugural batch of Masters Union. And I think that's the huge advantage, right? You're really sort of blazing the trail, here. The disadvantage, Salam, I'll be very honest. Our team is very experienced. I come from an entrepreneurial background. Rupesh ji, who's the CEO, and my colleague, he comes from education background. And we have some, marquee professors who come from academic background, and then we have some masters who come from practitioner background. So, while I don't think there's any disadvantage, we are also learning. We might make some mistakes, right? We will make some mistakes, right? But we'll make sure that none of those mistakes affect your career, right? But yeah, this is the first year. So I'll be honest to say that there might be some, growing pains, right? But I don't think any big disadvantage as such. Cool. So I think we'll stop here. Thanks everyone for joining in. This was a very spirited conversation, and thank you everyone for such interesting questions. So I'm going to end the recording now.